Hunter wasn't put on the board by Burisma. He was put on the board by Joe Biden.
That was quite entertaining from someone that had a sexual relationship with a robotic dog.
Robotic dog, robot dog.
They can't have formed in life because they were so extensive that the circulatory system would have been completely blocked off.
So is the baby. Did that motherfucker pay extra to you?
A new U.S. Census Bureau report revealing the facts. More people moved out of L.A. County during the height of the pandemic than any other big county in the country.
Hundreds of people storm an Arco gas station in Compton, stealing thousands of dollars in merchandise while a sideshow blocks a nearby intersection.
An hour before, this was a scene in Paramount. A bunch of youngsters raid the inside of this 7-Eleven on Lakewood and Somerset, the site of another street takeover. The place left trashed. It's unclear if it was the same group of looters that vandalized a Compton store only 8 miles away.
An abrupt closing for these 4 Walmart stores, really just about 5 days after these communities found out about Walmart's departure. Now, the residents are, of course, frustrated with the loss of this store, and already having been a food desert, they claim. They plan to voice those frustrations in a rally here later today. Walmart says it just hasn't been profitable in these neighborhoods, claiming to lose tens of millions of dollars over the years. Now, the concern for many, like you said, Mark, comes with another pharmacy leaving, some healthy food options, as Walmart being a key option for those options.
Police lacked enough manpower to arrest organizers of the violence last weekend. There are now posts such as this on social media, posting that Part 2 will convene this Saturday at various points downtown, many of whose patrons are already reluctant to come downtown, especially in the evening. He wants police and State's Attorney Kim Foxx to use every tool they have.
And those tools have to include a willingness to arrest and prosecute dangerous, violent offenders when they engage in mob activity that causes harm and injury to other people. They did loot the Walgreens at one point on State and Madison. We know about the injuries. We know at least 4 shots fired incidents resulted in 2 gunshot victims, one age 16 and one age 17. A lot of armed robberies, a lot of strong armed robberies, and several police officers injured, by the way.
By this act, we are ending the death penalty in the state of Washington, period.
Washington state lawmakers passing a bill that bans the sale, import, and manufacture of guns defined as assault weapons. This morning, a Colorado school bus driver under fire, facing 30 counts of child abuse, accused of intentionally stopping his school bus short, according to the school and court records, to teach the elementary school kids on his bus a lesson about staying in their seats.
You guys want to see how dangerous that is? Do you get that? That's why you need to be in your seat. Turn around and sit down properly. If you guys can't do that, you will get written up. Do you get that?
One person has died in a fiery crash on the Gold Star Bridge in Groton, Connecticut. Huge flames and heavy black smoke could be seen southbound on I-95 just after 11 this morning. Authorities say a passenger car's tire blew out, causing a fuel tanker to roll over, spilling 2,200 gallons of home heating oil. Fire spread underneath the bridge and then fuel spilled into the water.
Manslaughter charges have been filed against a semi-truck driver accused of causing this deadly pileup on I-35 yesterday on Wednesday. Investigators say Tony Enward-Mata was looking at his phone when he slammed into 4 other semis and 2 cars stopped in a construction zone. 2 people were killed, including Conrad Rogers and a woman who has not been identified yet. He also admitted to smoking a bowl of marijuana before his shift.
A train derailed near the village of Rockwood yesterday morning. The derailment caused a fire and 3 crew members were injured in the incident.
A CPKC spokesperson says 2 cars carrying hazardous materials like ethanol derailed. but they were not involved in the fire and there were no spills or leaks. In its latest update, the DEP says fuel, oil, and other fluids from the derailed cars are leaking. It says those fluids are going into the soil and into a nearby river.
As they move the locomotives, some stuff is going to come out, but they're doing their best to contain it all.
The leaks are evident. The DEP says an oily sheen can be seen on a nearby lake.
A 21-year-old Tennessee Air National Guardsman is under arrest tonight, charged with applying to be a hitman. Officials say that he applied on a spoof site called rentahitman.com and was taken into custody after allegedly taking money from an undercover agent for a fictitious hit.
The Nashville International Airport says they figured out what substance forced them to evacuate a concourse. People had to go outside to get some fresh air after the incident. The Nashville Fire Department told News 2 that personnel were responding to Concourse C due to, quote, something airborne causing breathing problems.
The question is, what happened? What caused Southwest to ask for this temporary pause on departures nationwide? Well, apparently, it was another round of technical problems, IT issues.
Union Pacific train hit another train parked in a passing lane, injuring an engineer and a conductor. This happened last night near Country Road 1540 in Chico. That's in Wise County. And Union Pacific says 15 grain cars and 3 locomotives derailed.
Quite entertaining from someone that had a sexual relationship with a Chinese spy, and everyone knows it. But
I move to take her words down. Everything that the gentlelady from Georgia has said.
No, you need to be more specific.
The accusations of an affair with a Chinese spy, those are engaging in personalities, and those words should be taken down, and the gentlelady should not be able to speak anymore in this hearing.
The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Georgia and asks if she would like to retract those words.
No, I will not.
The Stop the Steal organizer, known as Ali Alexander, has now admitted to asking teenage boys for naked pictures and also sending inappropriate text messages to these teenage boys. Now, he posted a statement about his behavior and how he has been battling with same-sex attraction, which same-sex attraction is not a problem. Being a 32-year-old male who sends inappropriate sexual messages to teenage boys is a problem. Now,
18 people have been arrested and charged in connection to this investigation.
According to Andrew Doherty's indictment, he raped a child under the age of 13 while threatening her with a rifle. Horsehead State Police received a tip in October 2022 about a minor possibly being abused. That then launched an investigation involving several state and local agencies and one person charged originally from Elmira, now in Florida, with agencies involved there. Now, after several months of an investigation, Doherty, along with 17 others, were arrested and charged with various sexual offenses against a minor. Doherty is also listed as a co-defendant in several other of the indictments, and he's also on the New York State Sex Offender Registry for a previous crime involving a victim of less than 5 years old back in 2005. Now, the abuse for this case most recently and exploitation happened to the victim over the span of 7 years at various locations throughout Yates County.
There's a child crying on the flight, non-stop. That's what's happening. Can you lower that voice? No, that's not. No. Let's be rational. Hold on. You want to be rational? No. Don't tell me what I do. Let's be rational. We are in a tin can with a baby in a goddamn echo chamber, and you want to talk to me about being okay?
Okay, because you're yelling.
So is the baby.
Okay, so you're a man.
Did that motherfucker pay extra to yell?
Made by AI, it cloned the voices of famous artists, Drake and The Weeknd. But here's the catch. There was no real way to tell that it's a fake. And it sounded like a complete hit. So obviously the song exploded. It garnered millions of views on YouTube, Spotify, and other platforms, and now it has been removed. Some are looking at this as a minor nuisance. Others call it harmless mimicry. But for most of us, it points to something more serious. Is AI the harbinger of headaches for the world of music?
Let me tell you a story about a horse. Beer. Rooted in the heart of America, found in a community where a handshake is a sure contract. Brewed for those who found opportunity in challenging tomorrow, raised by a generation willing to sit, sip, share. Remember, this is a story bigger than beer. Bud Light did 9/11. This is a horsey. Dear America, please take us back. Sincerely, Budweiser.
This is the story
about the American spirit.
I want to remind everyone, America invented this computer chip. We invented it by investing in going to the moon a while ago, okay? We increased the sophistication many times over. We made them smaller, faster, more powerful. And over time, we went from producing 40% of the world's chips down to 10%, despite our leading the world in research and design. How did that happen? I mean, deadly earnest. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. How did that happen? At the time I announced for the United States Senate when I was a kid, I had the support of the operating engineers. I love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys were founded 122 years ago. That's not when I got endorsed.
There's two N-words, right?
There are two N-words, right? There's
Which
two
one's
N-words.
worse?
They're both real bad, but you can't use the nuclear word. You just can't do it. And if you do it, nobody used it during my term.
There are a lot of different factors that mortgage agents or the mortgage agencies take into account when they're deciding all of the fees that you pay for your mortgage in addition to your mortgage rate. The mortgage fees that were for people who are borrowing with credit scores less than 690, 680, and 660 have traditionally been higher fees. For somebody who is borrowing and has a credit score that's 660 or below, they usually pay a fee that's kind of a penalty of about 2.5% of the entire loan. And now the fees will be adjusted.
For example, a person with a 620 FICO score and a down payment of 5% gets a 1 3/4 fee discount on a 30-year mortgage. But those with a score of 740 or above with 15 to 20% down will see an increase of 75% in fees from the current level. This applies to people of all income levels.
And so what's going to happen is people are going to pay less penalty fees due to having these low credit scores, and the people who are going to be paying higher fees will be the borrowers that are higher credit score borrowers.
Oh my god, this is like...
The freaking, it collapsed, bro.
If we could just hold that picture for a couple seconds, it really does give you PTSD when you think about 9/11.
I was on a Zoom call when I heard a loud thunderous sound, and it sounded like a really bad thunderstorm, and then I felt the building swaying, and it was a prolonged sway. To me, that wall should be, you see how high it is, it looks like it collapsed about a good floor, and all those bricks landed on some of the cars over there too. So yeah, that looks like, and you could even see some of the bricks over here in the backyard to the PACE dormitories, and I even saw some of the bricks on the window shelves on the outside. So definitely the bricks came out in a
flying out basically, like an explosion type of impact.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought it was the freight elevator going up or down, but then it got louder, and then there was a movement noise that was not the usual sound.
I do want to point out that thank God we had the robotic dog. The robotics unit happened to be nearby. They were on scene very quickly. We deployed our robot dog into the building.
We actually saw a drone flying over here to survey the area, and we later learned that I believe is a fire department drone.
That presumably is when it actually flew into the building, which is, of course, something that's the first time they've done anything quite like that. They're relying much more heavily, as they said, on robotics to protect the safety of their members.
We saw police officers and firemen on this building. They were going up the stairs. We've seen police officers and firemen on that building as well. I actually, when we ran outside, I saw a bunch of counterterrorism police coming out and coming around the corner right away.
Inside, the demolition process began about 6 hours ago. We're told from a source that the main structure is pretty much brought down at this point. And
they knew before they were going over there that Burisma was going to get a chunk of this. In September 2014, there's an email and laptop where a Burisma executive named Vadim Pozarski is like, thank you guys, and he's referring to Hunter Biden and like a government lobbying crew that he put together. Thank you guys, we got our grant from the Merck grant from USAID. They knew before they went over they were going to do this. They did it, and they just laundered this money through the USAID grant. I was on Air Force 2 when Jake Sullivan came walking to the back. Now, I didn't witness him talk specifically to Joe Biden, but it was Joe Biden's Air Force 2 plane. He was in control of the plane. Jake Sullivan was his spokesman coming back to express to the press, as I'm standing there with my recorder, what Joe Biden told him to say. Joe Biden knew when he told Jake Sullivan to go back and talk to the press that his son was already on the board of Burisma. Hunter joined the board of Burisma 3 days before this flight. And there were emails and calendar events in the laptop that told me that Hunter was meeting with his dad in the White House 2 days before he joined the board of Burisma, with a business partner who also joined the board of Burisma.
At a 2020 debate, Biden cited a letter from 51 former intelligence officials to claim the laptop story was a Russian disinformation campaign. Former CIA Deputy Michael Morrell reportedly told the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees that Blinken was the impetus for the letter. Remember, Anthony Blinken served as a senior advisor in the Biden campaign. The House Judiciary and Intelligence Committee has asked Blinken to hand over all documents and communications relating to this specific letter. Now, the US Secretary of State has been asked to provide the House with identities of everyone involved in its inception, drafting, editing, signing, publishing, or promotion. On Friday, the State Department refused to answer questions about the former CIA official's claim. Spokesperson Vedant Patel said the matter is not a State Department issue and ducked the question. Meanwhile, a poll by the Associated Press, NORC Center for Public Affairs Research shows that 47% of Democrats want to see Biden seek a second term. Reports suggest President Biden is expected to launch his re-election campaign in video next week.
Timing of the event following the announcement by the Sudanese government, they were going to allow Russia to create a port on the Red Sea. The CIA has been very active in Sudan. One of the first times I became really aware of it was in 1993. CIA chief of station at the time was a man by the name of Cofer Black. You may have heard of Cofer Black because he serves on the board of Burisma with Hunter Biden.
Had our friend Steve on the last podcast and he got canceled from YouTube, and if he's on camera, they'll delete our entire channel too. So they're taking it to the next level.
Yeah, but he's my friend.
That's crazy.
That is called, we don't have freedom of the press. I mean, you're the press, because, you know, the press used to be like a piece of paper. You're the press now.
Just moments before opening statements were set to begin Tuesday afternoon, Fox News agreed to pay nearly $800 million to Dominion over promoting falsehoods that the 2020 election was rigged and that Dominion's machines counted fraudulent votes. The settlement shields Fox from what was likely to have been grueling and potentially embarrassing coverage of internal strife between the network's executives, anchors, and producers in the weeks leading to the 2020 election.
The density of the atmosphere is decreasing.
I do want to remind everyone that everything after clearing the tower was icing on the cake.
That was so bad was Afghanistan, not the withdrawal, because I had it down to 2,500 troops. We were going to keep Bagram, the big Air Force base, because it's, as you know, you've heard me say it, It's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons.
I
That's
saw
a
you say
big
that.
deal. No, that's a big deal. And I didn't need it. We didn't need it for.
And we gave that up.
We gave it up. We gave it up. We like surrendered. And this is one of the biggest bases anywhere in the world. We just walk. You know who's occupying it very shortly? China.
Very important, because this is one that was captured over the Middle East from 2022, where you can see clear drone footage of people who are on the ground, and then a metallic spherical object that zooms through the frame and then is actually followed by the camera, of which they have no idea what this thing is. Here, go ahead and watch it for yourself.
You'll see it come through the top of the screen. There it goes. And then the camera will slew to follow it. You'll see it pop in and out of the field of view there. This is essentially all of the data we have associated with this event from some years ago. It is going to be virtually impossible to fully identify that just based off of that video.
They don't know what it is. They have no clue. They have no explanation.
What I can tell you is that on Monday, April 17th, 2023, an aircraft arrived here at the airport in the early evening. As per normal procedure, the aircraft was unloaded and cargo was transported from the aircraft to a holding cargo facility. Once this cargo was offloaded at a holding facility, subsequent to its arrival, this high-value container was removed by illegal means from the holding facility. This cargo was reported missing to the Peel Regional Police a short time later. An investigation has commenced. What I can say is that the container contained a high-value shipment. It did contain gold, but was not exclusive to gold and contained other items of monetary value. The total worth estimated at this time in our investigation for the property is estimated at just over $20 million.
This is post-vaccine, post-mortem blood clots. Now, I first heard of this from embalmers. I was contacted by embalmers who were washing out lots of blood clots. Well, what they thought was blood clots, it was like long, white, sort of strandy things, and they hadn't seen it before. This appears to be a new pathology. These embalmers, some with decades of experience, hadn't seen it before. And the pathologists don't seem to have seen it before either.
The intelligence community, in fact, does have enough evidence to implicate a lab origin, but won't advance that assessment because of political reasons. More specifically, there seems to be some intimidation about the enormous geopolitical consequences of that assessment as it relates to the US-China relationship. And Radcliffe also speculated that there is some antipathy towards Donald Trump in the intelligence community and a real reluctance to advance a theory that could help him politically or even be viewed as helping him politically.
Stunning scheme, the more we learn about it right now. You've got these two men linked to the Chinese government who were apparently operating. They were running what was in effect this illegal overseas police station. It was in Lower Manhattan, as you see there, literally just blocks away from where the FBI is located there. The Justice Department says it was part of a plot that was intended to monitor and to intimidate critics of the Chinese government.
PS headquarters in Beijing, not to oversimplify this, but they'll draw up a target list. And they'll say, you know, these individuals are causing trouble. We don't like them. They'll issue orders to whatever location. It could be in New York, could be in California, could be wherever there's a large Chinese American community where there may be dissidents or activists against the Xi regime. And they'll say, you know, we want them silenced. And they go about it through harassment, intimidation, efforts to try to get them to return to China. But they also, as part of their remit, are out there looking for individuals who they can coerce into working on their behalf, both to do the same thing, but also to look for intelligence, economic espionage.
Part of a larger global network we're learning about right now, said to include about 100 of these clandestine police stations, 100 in all, according to a human rights group around the world.
They're saying,
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people. Who's Kyle gonna take?
Heatwave is moving across Southeast Asia, pushing temperatures to record levels. In India, at least 11 people died of heat stroke this week. Bangladesh is seeing its highest temperatures in almost 60 years, and seasonal rains have so far failed to appear. Regions across China are reporting record April highs and many wildfires, with the hottest months of the year still to come. In Thailand, the mercury surpassed 45 degrees Celsius for the first time ever on Friday. Climate experts there warn the extreme heat and drought may last for months.
According to a new satellite imagery collected by a Washington-based think tank, China is increasing its Antarctic footprint. This is Beijing's fifth station in the southern polar region. China has undertaken ambitious expeditions and developed world-class research facilities. It has now sought to develop new shipping routes in the Arctic and expand its research in Antarctica.
Well, Russian opposition activist Vladimir Kara-Murza has been sentenced to 25 years in jail for charges linked to his criticism of the war in Ukraine. The journalist and politician has survived 2 poisonings allegedly by Russian authorities.
You'll go to jail for the rest of your life and you'll probably die in jail. That's the message that he wants to send to everybody, to shut everybody up. And it probably will work. I mean, you have to be an absolute hero to say anything in Russia if this is what they do to the dissidents.
Evan Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter arrested in Russia on espionage charges, has lost his appeal against his arrest and detention in the former KGB prison.
The Kremlin says Russian President Vladimir Putin has visited Russian forces in occupied areas of southern and eastern Ukraine. Putin is believed to have met with troops in the Ukrainian regions of Kherson and Luhansk. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has also been visiting troops on the front line in the eastern Donetsk region. Zelensky handed out medals to soldiers in the town of Avdiivka. The area has been the scene of intense fighting with Russian forces. Most residents have already been forced to flee the town. Repeated shelling has left much of it in ruins.
A lot of questioning about the visit of President Vladimir Putin in occupied territory. There's a lot of people who are questioning whether or not it is really indeed the Russian president or one of his doppelgangers.
This, as Russian state media says, a large blast in the Russian city of Belgorod, close to the Ukrainian border, was caused by an emergency release of an air ordnance from a Russian warplane. There was significant damage.
All NATO allies have agreed that Ukraine will become a NATO member. But the main focus now is, of course, on how to ensure that Ukraine prevails.
And over time, our support will help you make this possible. NATO stands with you today, tomorrow, and for as long as it takes.
Ukraine, as it has been for months now, is demanding sophisticated modern fighter jets, but also ammunition for its air defense systems. That's what Yuri Ignat, the spokesman for Ukraine's air defenses, was saying on Ukrainian television today. We are asking them not only for new, more sophisticated air defense systems, but also simply for more rockets for the ones that we've got, because, he says, they are running dangerously low, having had to defend throughout the winter against so many barrages of multiple Russian rocket strikes and drone attacks.
President Zelensky's mission is a diplomatic one: secure the supplies to make the counter-offensive a success. On Wednesday, the US announced a new military aid package worth $325 million, including artillery systems and small arms ammunitions.
Seymour Hersh, a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter, recently he was in the news for saying that America bombed the Nord Stream gas pipelines. And now he's dropped another bombshell. He says Zelensky and his team have embezzled about $400 million. $400 million. Apparently this was done last year. Do you remember what else started last year? Zelensky began his sacking spree. He fired many top officials, all for corruption. Now the new report says this was done to placate the US, and that American officials knew that Zelensky and team are skimming millions. They wanted the corruption to be more discreet.
US-made Patriot missile systems from Germany have arrived.
That's right. Kyiv has been pushing for these systems, saying it will help boost their defenses against Russia in the air. These missile systems are just the latest contribution from Western allies. Other aid includes tanks, artillery, and fighter jets as Ukraine prepares for a potential counteroffensive.
Attention. And the Ukrainians aren't forgetting to have some fun with technology, getting Mark Hamill, aka Luke Skywalker, to lend his voice to this air raid alarm app.
Attention. The air alert is over. May the force be with you.
International Organization for Migration documented 441 migrant deaths along the central Mediterranean Sea since the beginning of the year, the deadliest first quarter in 6 years.
Turkish Interior Minister has claimed the whole world hates America and suggests that Europe is merely a pawn of the United States. He says, United States is losing its credibility on the global stage. Is that the case? What do you guys think? Is America losing its credibility on the world stage? This is what the Turkish Interior Minister says. And he says it's attributed to various factors, such as foreign policy decisions, economic policies, and perceived cultural dominance.
Iran has said that its navy has forced a U.S. submarine to surface as it entered into the Gulf waters. The Iranian Navy has said that the submerged American submarine was detected and was forced to come to the surface as it went through the strategically located Strait of Hormuz. It has further added that the submarine had entered into Iran's territorial waters, but then was forced to correct course after it was warned by the Iranians.
Thinking we want to end off with a little rapid fire. We have a couple names. You say one word about them.
Go ahead. Which one do you
Elon
like?
Musk. One word.
One word. Smart.
Joe Biden.
Dumb. No.
Kim Jong-un.
Interesting. Very interesting.
O.J. Simpson, which we had on this podcast.
Well, I knew
actually.
O.J. very well. I knew him very well. I better not get into it. I knew O.J. so well.
Cheater on the golf course?
No, I don't think he cheats. But I'd say golf. I mean, he loves playing golf. I'd just say golf because I want to be very nice. You know, that was a terrible situation.
Kim Kardashian.
Disingenuous.
Justin Trudeau.
See,
I'm from Canada, by the way, too.
Extraordinarily liberal, as it turned out. You know, I never like one word because you really need more than one word to define people, but it's already much different than people thought. I had a pretty good relationship with him, but much different. I've had better relationships with some liberal.
Ice Spice?
Who the hell is Ice Spice?
The song? You don't know Ice Spice? Like, munch.
You've heard the song.
Go ahead, play it for me.
Below you on the charts.
Play it. Well, I like it. Okay, I like it. Go ahead.
Oh, I think that's all the names.
Are aliens real?
That was the last question.
That's an interesting. I don't personally.
You don't talk about aliens.
I don't.
Much.
I'm not a big alien person. I got enough things going without worrying about it. But I'll tell you what, you have a lot of smart people that think that, you know, there happens to be a certain site that's the #1 most visited site in the whole country. You know that,
What's
right?
that?
Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they think the aliens come down and.
I haven't been on that.
I'll tell you about it after the show.
The remains of this T-Rex have been sold for over $6 million in an auction that sparked worldwide interest. The 3.9-metre high skeleton, nicknamed Trinity, was sold to a private European collector. It was put up for sale by an anonymous US individual before being flown from Arizona to Switzerland for auction. This is just the third time that a T-Rex skeleton has been put on auction. The other two models, named Sue and Stan, sold for $8.4 million and $31 million respectively in 1998 and 2020.
Cho goes to confront and stop the suspected car thief. Police say Cho told the stranger to get out of the car, and the suspected thief immediately took a swing at him. The two men are seen fighting in the street at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Cho gets the suspected thief to the ground. As he pushes the thief one last time, the stranger gets up, pulls out a gun, and shoots at the victim. Cho ducks for cover and doesn't get hit.
We didn't see the police for probably like 20 or 30 minutes, maybe at least.
According to Brookhaven Police, just after 3:30 p.m., officers were in pursuit of a stolen car from Upper Darby. The stolen car crashes on Preston Street in Middletown Township. The suspects get out, and that's when Tyler steps in.
I started walking towards the road, and I was like, I can't do anything with my hands because I'm holding the pizza, so I just stuck my leg out.
According to the latest PPP data, nearly 1,800 cars were reported stolen just in January and February alone this year across the city. So this has led to large groups of Portlanders coming together on Facebook to try and help each other track down the stolen vehicles.
Like within a half hour to an hour, it was
It was recovered.
Did you think it would be that fast that the car would be recovered?
No, not at all.
Sarah Jane says she got involved with helping track down stolen cars about a year ago when her neighborhood was dealing with theft issues. It's a hobby that has been nonstop, and that makes sense with the number of cars Sarah says she's helped find in the last year.
I would say hands-on. Somehow, either I'm calling it in privately, or I'm talking to the owner, or I'm driving the owner from their home to their car, about 980.
Sarah says she doesn't get compensated for helping recover stolen cars. It's something she says she just has a passion for.